Imagine this. It is a beautiful summer afternoon, warm but not unbearable, the kind of day that feels perfectly normal for a walk. You clip on the leash and head out with your dog like you have 1,000 times before. 20 minutes in, they start lagging behind, their tongue hanging out further than usual, their pace slowing down. You figure they're just a little tired, so you keep walking toward home. 10 minutes later, they collapse on the sidewalk. I know exactly how terrifying that moment is, because I see it in my clinic every single summer, and almost every single time, the owner tells me the exact same thing. They say the weather did not even feel that extreme. And that is precisely what makes this so dangerous. But what if I told you that heat stroke is not actually caused by the thing you have been warned about your entire life? What if I told you that nearly 3 out of every 4 heat stroke cases I treat have nothing to do with a hot car at all? If you saw the thumbnail of this video, you saw the promise. Today I am going to show you the real warning signs of heat stroke that almost every dog owner misses, exactly what is happening inside your dog's body when it starts, and the exact steps to take in the first few minutes that could save their life. Hi everyone, I am Dr. Nick Lane, your neighborhood veterinarian, and welcome back to the channel. With this heatwave hitting record temperatures across Europe and the United States right now, this is genuinely one of the most important videos I will post all year. So grab a notebook, because I am going to walk you through the myth everyone believes, the signs your body will show you before it is too late, and exactly how to respond if you ever see them. Let's start with the myth. Most people believe heat stroke happens almost exclusively when a dog is left inside a hot car, and yes, that is a real and serious danger. Please never do that even for a few minutes. But here is what shocked me most when I started. Tracking this in my own practice. The overwhelming majority of the heat stroke cases that come through my clinic doors happen during completely normal exercise. A regular walk. A game of fetch in the backyard. A hike that has been done 100 times before. The temperature outside does not need to feel extreme to us for it to become dangerous for your dog, because dogs cannot cool themselves down the way we do. We sweat through our skin. Dogs can only release heat through panting and through the pads of their feet, and once the humidity climbs, even panting stops working efficiently. That is why the two of you can be on the exact same walk, in the exact same weather, and only one of you is actually in danger. Now let's talk about what is happening inside your dog's body, because understanding this will help you recognize the signs faster than anyone else around you. A dog's normal body temperature sits around 101 to 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Once that climbs past 103, their body is already working overtime to cool down. Past 106 degrees, we start seeing permanent damage to the brain, the kidneys, and the liver, and the studies on this are honestly sobering. Roughly 1 in 7 dogs treated for heat stroke in a veterinary hospital does not survive. That statistic alone is why I am asking you to genuinely pay attention to what I am about to explain, because recognizing this early is the single biggest factor in whether a dog walks away from it or does not. So here are the warning signs, in the order they typically appear. First, heavy panting that does not slow down even when your dog stops moving or finds shade. Normal exercise panting settles within a few minutes of rest. Heat stroke panting does not. Second, watch the color of the gums. Healthy gums are a light pink. In early heat stroke, they often turn bright red, and in more severe cases, they can shift toward a purple or bluish tone, which tells us oxygen delivery is being affected. Third, thick, ropey, excessive drool that looks different from their normal saliva. Fourth, wobbliness, stumbling, or a lack of coordination in their back legs, which signals the brain and nervous system are starting to be affected by the internal temperature. Fifth, vomiting or diarrhea, sometimes with blood in more severe cases. And finally, collapse or loss of consciousness, which is a true emergency requiring immediate action. I also want you to know which dogs are at the highest risk, because prevention starts with knowing your own dog's specific vulnerabilities. Flat-faced breeds like bulldogs, pugs, and boxers are at significantly higher risk because their shortened airways make panting a far less effective cooling method. Senior dogs, overweight dogs, and dogs with existing heart or respiratory conditions also have a much lower margin for error. And here is something most people do not think about. Dogs with thick or dark-colored coats absorb and retain far more heat from direct sunlight, even on days that do not feel unusually hot to us. If your dog fits any of these categories, I want you to treat every summer walk this year with extra caution, even on days that seem perfectly mild. Now, if you ever see any combination of these warning signs, here is exactly what to do in the first few critical minutes. Stop whatever you are doing immediately and move your dog to shade or an air-conditioned space right away. Do not wait to see if it passes on its own. Next, begin cooling them down, but please hear this vet warning, because it is one of the most common mistakes I see well-meaning owners make. Do not use ice water or ice packs directly on their skin. It feels like it should help faster, but extremely cold water actually causes the blood vessels near the skin's surface to constrict, which traps heat inside the body's core instead of releasing it. Use cool or lukewarm water instead, and pour it over their body, focusing on the belly, the inner thighs, the neck, and the paws, where blood vessels sit closer to the surface. A wet towel draped over their back, combined with a fan blowing across them, dramatically speeds up evaporative cooling. Offer them small sips of cool water as they are able to drink, but never force water into their mouth, since dogs in distress can inhale it into their lungs. Once you have started this cooling process, get to a veterinarian immediately, even if your dog seems to be recovering and acting more like themselves. This is genuinely critical, because the internal damage from an elevated body temperature does not always show up right away. Organ stress and swelling can develop hours after the initial episode, and a same-day check is the only way to catch that early. Now let's talk about prevention, because the goal is never having to use any of what I just explained. The single easiest habit is adjusting when you walk. Move your walks to early morning or later in the evening, when the ground and air temperature have dropped significantly, rather than the middle of the afternoon when heat peaks. Before you head out, do the 7-second pavement test I have talked about in previous videos. Place the back of your hand flat on the sidewalk or asphalt, and if you cannot comfortably hold it there for a full 7 seconds, it is too hot for your dog's paws and often too hot for a full walk in general. Keep fresh water available at all times, and consider adding a few ice cubes to their outdoor water bowl so it stays cool longer throughout the day. A frozen treat, like plain pumpkin puree or low-sodium bone broth frozen in an ice cube tray, gives your dog a fun way to cool down from the inside while you supervise them outside. If your dog is one of the higher-risk breeds we talked about, cut your walks shorter on hot days no matter how normal the weather looks on paper, and consider swapping an afternoon walk for indoor play or a shaded, grassy area instead of pavement. Never leave your dog in a parked car, even with the windows cracked, and even for what feels like just a quick errand, since interior car temperatures can climb by 20 degrees or more within just 10 minutes. And finally, get to know what is normal for your own dog. Every dog's baseline energy and panting looks a little different, and the pet parents who catch heat stroke earliest are almost always the ones who know their dog well enough to notice something is off before it becomes severe. Before we wrap up, I want to give you one more tool that most owners never think to check, and that is hydration status, because dehydration and heat stroke often go hand in hand. A quick way to check is the skin tent test. Gently lift the loose skin at the back of your dog's neck and let go. In a well-hydrated dog, it snaps back into place almost instantly. If it sinks back slowly, that is an early sign they need fluids right away, even before any of the more severe symptoms show up. You can also glance at their gums. Healthy hydrated gums feel moist to the touch, while dehydrated gums start to feel tacky or dry. On especially hot or humid days, I like to offer a homemade electrolyte boost alongside their regular water, not as a replacement, just as an extra option. A small splash of plain, unsalted bone broth mixed into a separate bowl of water, or a few tablespoons of the water left over from boiling boneless, skinless chicken, gives them a gentle mix of natural sodium and minerals that encourages them to drink more overall. Please avoid giving them commercial human sports drinks, since the sugar and salt levels are formulated for people, not for a dog's much smaller body weight. I also want to mention humidity for a moment, because it matters just as much as temperature, and it is the piece almost nobody accounts for. A dog can struggle just as much on a 78-degree day with high humidity as they would on a drier 90-degree day, because panting relies on evaporation, and humid air simply cannot absorb that moisture as efficiently. Before a walk, it is worth checking the heat index, not just the raw temperature, especially if you live somewhere humid this time of year. One last thing before we close, please resist the urge to shave a double-coated breed thinking it will help them stay cooler. For breeds like Huskies, Golden Retrievers, and German Shepherds, that undercoat actually insulates against heat and helps regulate their body temperature, and shaving it can sometimes make overheating worse, not better, while also risking sunburn on exposed skin. A good brushing to remove loose undercoat is genuinely far more helpful than a shave during summer months. Since this heatwave is also affecting how much your dog wants to eat, I want to mention one more thing quickly. Many dogs naturally eat less in extreme heat, and that is usually normal, but pair it with the feeding schedule adjustment I recommend to a lot of my clients this time of year, offering the larger meal of the day during the cooler morning or evening hours instead of the middle of the afternoon, since digestion itself actually raises a dog's internal body temperature slightly, and doing that during the hottest part of the day adds one more small strain their body does not need right now. I know this was a heavier topic than usual, but I would genuinely rather you feel slightly over-prepared walking out that door this summer than caught off guard by something that moves as fast as Heatstroke does. This heatwave is not slowing down anytime soon, and neither should your attention to these signals every single time you head outside with your dog. If this video helped you understand what to actually watch for, please do me a favor and hit that like button, because it genuinely helps this kind of safe, potentially life-saving veterinary advice reach more pet parents before they need it, not after. Make sure you are subscribed so you never miss one of these deep dives into your dog's health. And leave me a comment down below right now. I want to know, does your dog fall into any of the higher risk categories we talked about today, and have you already started adjusting your walk times for this heat wave? I read every single comment, and I love hearing from this community. Give your dog a cool, gentle pat for Dr. Nick tonight, and keep those walks a little shorter until this heat breaks. Stay safe. Always trust your instincts.